Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through. With minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Welcome to another episode of Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Today, we're exploring a question that affects every one of us. How much of our lives are shaped by what other people think? So our guest today is the author, the storyteller, and the musician John Hockney. In his memoir, The Hockneys, Never Worry What the Neighbours Think, John reflects on a philosophy passed down by his father, one that encouraged every member of the family to live authentically, follow their own path, and embrace curiosity without the fear of judgment. Today, we're going to explore not only John's remarkable life and writing, but also the psychology behind confidence, resilience, creativity, and staying true to yourself. John, welcome to Oz Arab Media and welcome to Scientifically Speaking.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Thank you for your time, John. I really appreciate it and appreciate talking about your own story, not only your writings. If I can start from the very beginning, you've described yourself as a storyteller first and foremost.
Yes.
So what drew you to storytelling and why do you believe stories matter so much?
I used to live in Strathfield, using their library frequently. Whilst waiting for an assistant to stamp the book, I noticed a bright yellow DL-size leaflet promoting the Australian Storytelling Guild in New South Wales. I was very keen to explore what the idea of storytelling was, purely because my mother used to tell me, "You do tell some stories, John."
Nice.
A few weeks later, I attended a meeting at the Balmain Writers' Centre. The storytellers were all adults, both men and women, probably about 20 members at that time, with each during the day sharing stories of their choice. Some for a children's audience and some adults. I was captivated by their various presentations and was eager to return the next month. As I had worked on stage and some TV work with my singing group, I was very comfortable in front of an audience, and I shared a couple of stories during the day which were accepted very well.
Nice.
A few months later, following my enthusiasm to become a storyteller, I submitted an application to become an accredited storyteller with the Australian Storytelling Guild. The accreditation is judged by a panel of 4 members, considering diction, presentation relevant to the story, plus any appropriate props used.
Wow.
My story was using an apple tree with a blue felt background and red, green and yellow apples.
Nice.
Each apple represented a story picked by a member of the audience. I was successful with my accreditation. However, to tell stories in New South Wales schools, one had to again become an accredited storyteller with an inspector who assessed the value of what the actors' schools. I again passed at Lithgow Primary. Once I began performing in country areas, the enthusiasm of kids in the bush was quite noticeable. They were a joyful audience, more enthusiastic than those in the city. Always so appreciative, we travelled to the outback. As I developed, I began to realise stories were not just for children. Adults too enjoyed a good story, especially those in nursing homes. Two fellow storytellers, Sue Alvarez and Christine Greeno, we formed Whimsical Weavers, a story group specialising in yesteryear stories and songs. My wife was a director of nursing at that time, offered many positive suggestions of subjects to cover in aged care. We collected old objects, washboards and irons, old magazines, even yesteryear's wedding dresses. Our first nursing home was in North Sydney. We had just started our first song when a lady in a wheelchair was taken to the back of the room. A minute later, she shouted at the top of her voice, "Shut up!"
Whoa.
And she had apparently been at the home for 6 months, had never spoken.
Wow.
Her career as an opera singer apparently did not appreciate our harmonic voices.
Okay.
Nevertheless, the show was a big success and pointed to a new market for it. The exercise proved stories matter.
Yeah.
If we think back before supermarkets, when life focused on local shops, life was far more personal and in one sense meaningful. Nobody seemed rushed and had time for a chat and gossip. Certainly some TV programmes offer life stories and are usually popular, proving most people are still interested in story, or Still in Story is one such programme. In a way, we are fed stories every hour of the day on TV, radio and direct to our phones or computers. These are not the live storytelling that show true empathy, hope, justice, love or care, as is demonstrated so often in our local communities. And true human stories matter. Why? Better memory? The human brain remembers narrative details and emotional arcs far longer than our dry lists of data. Deep empathy, hearing someone else's lived experiences and emotions, let us see through their eyes and feel true compassion. Shared meaning. Stories unite communities by reminding us of our common hopes, struggles and values. Inspiration. A good narrative moves people to change their minds or to take action for the greater good.
That is amazing, John. Indeed, most of your words really touched, and now we know why you're a really good storyteller. If I want to dig a little bit deeper into the background, your memoir is titled Never Worry What the Neighbours Think. Why did you choose that title, and what does that philosophy mean to you personally?
My reason for using my father's quote is that not one of my siblings bothered what anyone thought of them to achieve their success.
Okay.
So they stood alone and they focused on what they were going to do. And David was often scoffed at because he pushed a pram with his paints, easels and canvas around the village.
Wow.
I don't decry any of the wonderful neighbours we grew up with, nor the sacrifices each sibling made to achieve their goals. When I was writing the book, I expressed my admiration for each of my siblings and their achievements made through their own initiatives. And as individuals, their success was due to their own enterprise, risk and a mindful goal.
Right.
None had ever worried what the neighbours think, nor anyone else for that matter. The title, if I had a chance, would change. Not because of any objection, but that now I feel it probably a little bit aggressive.
Right.
Especially to people who may take it personally, and it was never, of course, that intention. As I say, it really means never be bothered about what anybody thinks, not just neighbours.
Not just the neighbours. So we're not trying to offend one section, maybe everyone? No, not really. It's just really to live your own life and your own path, and that is amazing. Looking back on your own life, John, how has that philosophy really influenced the decisions you've made?
I have to be honest, and
Yes.
as a young teenager, I did concern myself about what the neighbours thought. Only when I emigrated to Australia did I become the real me.
Okay.
There is no doubt I was a slow starter. I had a good education at grammar school,
Yeah.
and initially I became a display artist. It seemed to me, as the youngest member of my family,
Yes.
I was a little behind my siblings. I thought them better than myself. I was absolutely thrilled with each of their achievements and the effort each took to gain their respective positions.
Right.
Then I made the decision to follow Brother Philip to Australia. I arrived by aircraft in July 1965 with my wife. And at that time, the Sydney airport was just a ramshackle of wooden huts. My brother Philip and his wife Mary were there to meet us. Our flight had taken 36 hours
Wow.
from London, stopping in Paris, Cairo, Calcutta, Bombay, Hong Kong,
Oh,
Manila,
wow.
Darwin.
Went
and
around the
then
world.
Sydney. Yeah. In economy seating, you'll appreciate we were a bit extremely tired by
Of
the time we got
course.
there. The next day, I went job hunting and was hired by David Jones. My job was to tie autumn leaves on branches of denuded trees. Not very challenging. A week later, I was hired by Grace Brothers to assist display at the new Roseland Shopping Centre,
Yeah.
the first in Australia. As I didn't really know anyone then, the new centre was a challenge for us all. To be part of this excitement was never forgotten. And some months later, Australia changed currency to dollars and cents in lieu of pounds. Display in Australia was dominated at that time by gay people, and relationships with fellow display people was unfortunately not easy, even though my brother David was gay. It was a time for reflection and what I needed to do. A major decision was to just take a job and decide what I wanted to do later. And I took a job at a factory. Eventually, there was some people who they made 3 cables a day. It was for the post exchange, I remember. I eventually did 3 cables an hour.
Wow.
So I made quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it was easy to do. It was boring work actually. I became caught up in the organisation of manufacturing, something I'd never been in before, and I had never worked in industry before. I realised I needed to think, and I changed my job direction.
Right.
And though no one knew me very well except for my brother, I won a sales position with a family-owned shop fitting manufacturer.
Okay.
I was 26 and able to accept change and new opportunities.
Right.
As it turned out, I eventually became an operations manager for the company, staying there 15 years until I returned to the UK. Unfortunately, I never saw my father again as he died. I'm sorry I'm adding that in, but it was just important at that
Of
time.
course.
So, yeah, that's...
That's all about it, really. The philosophy, how it influenced you to move from one decision to the
another.
other.
Yeah.
That's nice. John, many people spend years trying to meet other people's expectations,
Yes.
unfortunately. Why do you think we are, as humans, so influenced by the opinions of others?
I think there's a few things. Certainly the desire to belong,
Right.
to be part of a community. There's a normal social influence which drives people to agree with the crowd sometimes, so they feel accepted and avoid rejection. There's fear of judgment. Many people hide their true views,
Right.
especially online, because they worry what other friends or family co-workers might think. So they're very careful, perhaps,
Very
what
conscious
they share.
about,
Conscious
yeah.
about it. But we so often want to belong and be accepted. Of course we do. There is no doubt I was always trying to please my parents.
Right.
I learned later when I came to Australia, it was my life. Australia did a lot for me.
Right.
My life, and whatever I felt was worthy. Was that due to a lack of confidence? Probably. Yet I was always looking at new things and explore and do, and I enjoyed my life and still do.
Amazing.
I wanted to please and feel wanted. And to please is not an easy question to answer. Of course, we all need to be wanted. There is a fundamental human drive to be liked, wanted, and to belong. Certainly I did. The point on this question is, though, perhaps a lack of confidence. Maybe someone has a position of some status which offers respect, adulation of position, or even envy. But they are still only a human being, like we all are. What makes them different? Authority or maybe worthiness raise its head in this question. Status and position is important to so many people. I certainly had doubt at one time, but overcame once I was able to contribute value to society myself. I love the quote by Dr. Seuss. There is no one alive newer than you.
Nice.
Of the 8 billion people living on this earth, no one else is just like you.
It's amazing.
And that means every person have their own personal life and stories. No matter where we live, what status or position, no one else is just like me.
That's amazing. So can I say one key word is believe in yourself, have confidence,
Absolutely.
and don't worry about what the neighbours say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
John, you yourself have lived through enormous social and cultural changes that you've mentioned today over the decades in your life. I don't know if it has become easier or harder for people to be themselves today, in your opinion?
I honestly believe it's easier
Easier.
for people to be themselves in Australia today rather than when I was young.
Right.
Dress and wealth status, type of car, house, suburb, etc., was a dominant factor because of the hierarchical system.
Right.
Especially in the 60s and 70s, changes in music, fashion, art greatly affected British society and Australia and followed.
Yes.
When I arrived here in 1965, on weekends especially, I could not distinguish wealth. And what I mean by that is most men, especially in summer, wore a shirt, some shorts, long socks, or even a safari suit.
They looked equal socially.
Equal.
Yeah.
You could not say this man is wealthy and someone else is that. So
good.
that's one
Yeah.
thing I think it was very important. And to me, I like that rather than the pomp of England. I still think that. I think it still exists in Australia, though others may disagree. But I think that's still important.
It
part
has
of living
become
here.
easier to live yourself
Yes.
in Australia. That's amazing. Writing a memoir, John, definitely requires a lot of honesty. Was there some moments where you wondered whether some stories were too personal to share?
Absolutely.
Were they?
But having read the book, you may recall I did not hold back on my situation as a young 16-year-old in Brighton, confronted with a situation I had never been prepared for, because my parents were as ignorant as I about such things. When I needed to inform myself by borrowing a relevant book from the library, My mother was shocked at the title and felt I should pray with her. No blame to the perpetrator, only my taste and choice of reading from my local librarian. It was like a double confrontation at that time. I was very upset by what had happened, and I wanted to learn, something about it. And it was a time in 1955 when ignorance of sex activities began to surface in the media. And I always suggest to any of my workshop attendees, only write what you feel comfortable sharing.
Right.
The honesty of inclusion allows others to consider situations that they may have confronted. But
John, sorry to cut you off. Doesn't that make you fall back into what people think or judge?
I don't think it's quite the same. It's about opening up, of course, and whether or not you want to include something in your story is entirely up
personal
to you.
Decision this
it's
time.
It's a personal decision.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's anything else. And if we do not share the whole story, it prevents the writer from sharing how they dealt with a difficult time in their lives, if they don't. And that is part of the story to me. And that's why I included that in my book.
Nice.
It was something I had to learn.
Lovely. If I want to speak more about the book, you speak about ordinary people living extraordinary lives. What have you learned about human resilience, John, through your own family's journey?
Thank you for this question.
Of course.
As a chapel-going family, we were taught to pray. We were also often reminded to use proverbs. Not proverbs from the Bible, the proverbs that help us to look at life.
Okay.
To get through any difficulties, which as far as I know, we all followed. Some that really helped us. And I'm reminded, things like the early bird catches the worm. Immediate action brings early success. Strike whilst the iron is hot.
Wow.
Take an opportunity as soon as you can. Honesty is the best policy. Telling the truth is always best. Don't judge a book by its cover. Never judge by appearance. No idea what is behind them. Easier said than done. Talking is easier than acting.
Yep.
And these are very important, as I think. And they helped us as children grow up and use it. I still
understand life, maybe.
Understand life. And all her life, my mother kept records of everything she spent, income and expenditure. She reminded us, all of us, to what Mr. Micawber said in Charles Dickens' book. Annual income, £20. Annual expenditure, £19.19 and 6. Result, happiness. Annual income, £20. Annual expenditure, £20, naught and sixpence. Result, misery.
Wow.
These are wonderful things that we were taught, and I've lived up to in a way all my life. I've looked at that.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And as a storyteller, John, do you think writing helps people better understand themselves as well?
I certainly do, provided it's truthful. Writing allows us to reflect on the subject, whatever that is.
Right.
Pondering what we want to say and how is healthy reflection.
Right.
It is in writing on paper no longer a memory stored in the brain, but it's recorded for posterity. I always write whatever I feel first. Just put it down. The whole point of the story is how we deal with emotions.
Right.
Any story, especially human stories.
Part of the treatment.
Emotions. Everything is so important.
Does a lot of amendments happen later? After
Yes.
you
Yes. And then you reread it.
Yes.
And that time difference allows us to reflect on the words chosen.
Wow.
And is there a better way? do we even want to say what we've written? It is usually a time of personal conflict in as much what is true and what do we really want to say. Long before computers, letter writing was a weekly occurrence.
True.
Especially for us to send letters to England, those little blue
Yes.
letters that we'd send off. So we'd write things so that they could be part of our lives in here.
Yes.
We added references, be they photographs, certificates or achievements.
Yeah.
And when my mother died at 99 and a half, we found all the letters we each had written to her,
Wow.
right from the beginning.
That's a book on its own.
And it was, and mostly they told of what was happening with ourselves and family, things we'd forgotten, of course.
Wow.
But some included the difficulties or joys of a particular moment. And it becomes quite emotional for us to read what we had written years before.
Reflecting on your lives.
And sometimes our opinions had changed as life and wisdom gained made changes even now. When my wife Helen died, I reread all the letters I'd sent her.
Wow.
She had kept them. Life changed as we both matured and was beautiful to be reminded of memories gone. That's the other point. Moments of joy, sorrow, love and disappointment, reflection of our lives together helped me overcome the deep sorrow I felt when she died. Writing our thoughts and feelings at any given time, I think, helps in our current understanding of life and how we may have changed. Daily diary notations really help looking back in yesteryear for those who want to write diaries.
Amazing. Reading, reflecting back to your life, I'm sure is a great therapy, but it might be a message as well for so many people who reach later stages of their lives, wishing they've taken more risks. John, what advice would you give someone who's afraid to follow their own path and not regret taking that risk?
Well, I was slower than my siblings developing my own confidence.
You did mention.
At the time, I think because they were all abuzz with life. I'm not putting myself down, just being honest, discovering my own worth.
Right.
When I was at primary school, we naturally took exams. I, one time, was 11th out of a class of 31. My parents said I should do better. Before my mother died, she gave me all the certificates. And I noticed that particular year, I was 11th. My actual total marks were just 5.5 behind the first.
Wow.
Only 5.5 marks, because they marked in half marks.
Okay.
So it wasn't really a bad.
It wasn't bad at all. No.
But what they said at that time affected me. For it's what
your confidence.
your confidence in things, you know. But it was not as bad. But anyway, at least in my eyes, psychologically, the comment affected me for some time. And lack of confidence can damage how we feel ourselves. We need to, I think also by writing stories, by writing something you've experienced.
Part of the therapy.
That is part of the therapy. You will look at time is long gone, and it did affect me over some years. But like yourself, for who you are, we are not all scientists, we're not all great artists, but we are people who live life in a country where I believe opportunities abound still. Over the years, especially since working with stories, I enjoy a confidence I never used to have.
Nice.
No matter where you come from, what your political or religious belief is,
Right.
we are individuals making our life together on this planet.
Right.
Feeling comfortable with who you are is the path to renewed confidence,
I agree.
which you can get through
Yeah.
writing. Yes, you can do it. And again, a reminder that Dr. Seuss said,
Yeah.
there's no one alive newer than you. That means you are special.
Sure, that is true. Amazing. But John, I've got a curious question. What inspired you to finally write this book after carrying all these stories for so many years?
Time.
You needed time.
I think was what urged me to write the book. David was, of course, by now world famous for his art. I was the youngest, and I was already in my 80s. But always thought all my siblings had achieved well in their own fields, and I was deeply proud of them all. As well, my parents were important to the story because of their background with simple lives, their thrift, their love of family, and their giving generosity to others. And I was very proud of all my siblings and thought, why don't you write about them?
Oh, that's
So I did.
cute.
So I did.
So you meant to reflect their
Yes,
achievements,
yes.
and you little knew how much it's going to be a remedy for yourself as well. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
I mean, they all achieved, as I think you've read the book,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
understand
of
that.
course.
And whereas maybe there would have been one in a family. I mean, basically it was everyone. And it was, I think, very, very, that's why I
amazing.
wrote it.
Amazing. We definitely do encourage everyone to read the book. And when readers finish this book, hopefully, what's the one lesson you hope stays with them?
Right.
When we find
You can be whatever you want to be if you believe in yourself.
Nice.
Doubt and the idea never to have done anything much in life is no reason to not write. If we may think of ourselves as ordinary, I don't believe there's any such thing as an ordinary person.
Okay.
Whatever happened, you've lived your life as you chose, or have you? Maybe you wish you had chosen a different career path, maybe even another partner. The joys and laughter and the disappointments and sorrows are all emotions that provide the very real basis of all our stories.
Nice.
Every story told or written carries emotion. Without emotion, the story would be dull indeed. Like me, who was a migrant to this country, there are so many emotions to share, leaving those we grew up with and loved, family, friends, your town or city or country. That decision to move to the other side of the world was a decision I made along with so many migrants. How many emotions would we all have felt at that time? And that becomes a story in itself.
True.
Even if we just wrote about that, this the stories that whether it's shipborne by air and the change of country. Even though I speak English,
There's still so many
there were
differences.
still so many things that were
Yes,
different.
that's true. What another chapter to add.
Absolutely. And if my book can prompt someone to write their story, it'll have achieved a greater end than just being a book about my family.
That's
I think
amazing.
so.
That's amazing, John. Before we end this lovely a conversation together, if you could leave the next generation with one philosophy for living a meaningful life, what would that be?
Love one another.
Oh,
Be who you are.
nice.
Follow your heart. Help others when you can. Human beings are still more important than computers
Lovely.
and always will be. And think before speaking. It's myth busting. Look, it's selfish. There's a question sometimes. It's
Yeah.
selfish to put your own dreams
Yes,
first.
that's true.
But that's not. I
It's
don't
not
believe
selfish.
it's true. Because if you can't put your own dream
Yes.
first, how can you do it with anybody
With
else?
anybody else.
It's not. Definitely not. Human stories are universal.
Yes.
And unless we have our own individual's dreams,
Yes.
we have nothing to aim for.
Yes.
Every person on this planet
Yeah.
have their own story.
Lovely.
That's over 8 billion people,
Nice.
a story each.
It is.
Some of the best stories I've heard arise from the so-called ordinary people living their extraordinary daily lives. Why?
That's true.
because the challenges of life we have faced are the stories of achievement, joy,
Amazing.
despair, love, all were the subjects of telling stories.
That is amazing, John. No matter how much we sit and talk about things, there's always wise words out there. We do have some myth busting to mention, and you did mention some of them in your conversation. So it is not selfish to put your dreams first, so you can
I
dream
don't
with
think
others.
so.
You don't think so? Most people care far more about what others think than they should, which was the center of our conversation today.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
There is no doubt, I think we all want to be loved or liked for who we are.
Yes.
Our individual strength comes when we totally believe in ourselves and offer with confidence to others our love and our needs in life.
Amazing. And we did talk about how you have to be extraordinary to have a special story worthy to tell. Not really. And you did mention in your conversation just a bit ago that we are all extraordinary
We are.
people.
I pondered a moment how to respond to that question.
Yes, tell me.
And my answer is this.
Yeah.
So-called ordinary people
Yeah.
always have a story to tell
Okay.
because they have their own unique perspectives.
Yes.
Everyday resilience, how they personal struggles reflecting the universal human experience
True.
far better than famous lives can. Every quiet victory, failure, and we do fail, and lesson adds an irreplaceable piece to our personal story history. Life is often challenging. It is how we tackle
Yes.
those challenges that become the story.
And since Dr. Seuss said that you are the only you in this universe, you definitely have a different way of tackling that experience in your life. There's one myth that I'd like to discuss today. The older you get, they say, John, the harder it is to change your life. What's your say about that?
Well, at 86, I say,
God
never.
bless you. Never.
We have every opportunity to change our way of thinking and
Wow.
our future. Every day offers an opportunity to change the way I think. Whatever subject, whether I want to or not, is another matter. But our world changes politically, economically, but it also reaffirms beliefs.
Right.
I have learned to be able to choose in my life. For me, being older allows a wiser opportunity to see people and the world reflect in our daily lives.
Nice.
One significant change for myself is certainly being far more tolerant of others' opinions.
Okay.
I worked for many years with stories of migrants, and wow, what they had to deal with and then assimilate to Australian way of life has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Sure, some groups live together in areas like Fairfield, Cabramatta, for many Asians, and then Leichhardt for many of the Italians,
Yeah.
Greeks. But most of us still learn to live each day as it comes.
Yes.
We have now, this minute, this second is the only time there is. 2 minutes ago, it's past, it's gone.
Past. Yes.
We do not know the future.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen in a few minutes now.
That's
And I
amazing.
think that's another point about looking at stories
Yes.
and writing stories. Look, there's modern methods, computers, phones, laptops, are not always for we elders. The easiest, they're not easy to always understand.
Yeah.
Even now with my phone, I can't
Okay.
always do it. So much of communication today, of course, is instant, where in my earlier life, time was slower and gentle. But storytelling allows a fellow human being to share something about their life experience, their dreams, their loves, their disappointments and tragedies. News today is instant, so we receive stories from basically anywhere in the world as it happens.
True.
So there is much more to absorb quickly and mentally than when I was in my 20s. The tragedies of world stories do not affect us personally, but with the huge immigration to Australia, overseas stories are no longer local. You yourself come from a
Interchangeable, it's
different-
international.
and I emphasise with our fellow migrants, because whatever happens in any country out of Australia, especially some who have chosen to live here, has become part of our new expectations. How have these people adapted to a new country? I would offer that our multicultural society is what Australia needed to develop,
Nice.
as it has.
Yeah.
Storytelling locally connects people, neighbours, friends, and new people we meet. It builds deep empathy and makes complex facts much easier to remember by sharing our emotions
That's lovely.
and imagination.
Amazing. If I can ask you for the lucky last myth I want to tackle today, the greatest freedom comes when you stop living for other people's approval.
Wow, that's a great question.
Nice.
Statement.
Tell me.
There is no doubt
Yeah.
we so often look for approval of our deeds or conversation, including myself.
Yeah.
It's part of a human connection.
Right.
I sought approval for my book. I'd spent 2 years of my life writing it. It was not forthcoming from one member of my family. Though sad, I am still convinced I took the time to write what I believe is a wonderful tribute to my parents, siblings and grandparents,
Lovely.
all who positively affected me and my life in different ways. I do think it is natural when we have put a lot of energy into whatever we chose to do,
Right.
that it is accepted as something special. When I attended grammar school in 1950, I really wanted to be the best I could. The difficulty at that time for any grammar school in the UK was that the war had taken young men, which left those who were supposed to retire still having to teach us. So their methods were Victorian, archaic, cruel and inconclusive, dealt with by corporal punishment. It was not a happy time. Nevertheless, my grammar school education was ruled by the cane with very little enjoyment of learning. In my final year, a new English master came into the class. He sat on a desk with his feet on the chair.
Okay.
Wow. He wrote on the blackboard the longest word in the English dictionary, which he said we don't have to remember.
Okay.
He wrote anti-disestablishmentarianism,
And you still remember that? Wow.
of which I have never forgotten.
Okay.
Sadly for me, he wasn't at school earlier. I left that year. But then, that becomes another story.
Wow. That's amazing, John. Let me be honest with you. What a journey I have had with you today. I really want to thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your remarkable journey and the philosophy that has guided your life and hopefully ours from today. Thank you so much again, John.
It's
for
been
being
my
here.
pleasure.
No worries at all. And before we leave or go anywhere, I'd like to tell our listeners, perhaps one of the greatest lessons in life is that authenticity isn't something we're born with. It's something we choose every single day, often by letting go of what the fear of what others might think, not what the neighbors think, as John tells us. This was Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Until next time.